The morning mist hung thick over the abandoned factory complex near the Korean border. Park Ji-won pulled his jacket tighter as he walked through the empty buildings. He had been using this place for 3 months now to train people in wilderness survival. The old concrete structures made perfect practice grounds for his students. Ji-won was 32 years old and had spent 8 years as a military medic before leaving the army. Now he taught civilians how to survive in harsh conditions. The work was quiet and he liked it that way. After seeing too much violence during his service, peace felt good. The factory had been empty for 15 years. Weeds grew through cracks in the concrete floors. Broken windows let in cold mountain air. Most people stayed away from this place. They said it was haunted. Ji-won did not believe in ghosts, but he understood why others might. The silence here felt heavy sometimes. He was checking his equipment storage room when he heard a sound. It was soft like a small animal whimpering. Ji-won stopped moving and listened carefully. His military training had taught him to pay attention to unusual sounds. The noise came again from somewhere outside. Ji-won grabbed his medical kit from habit and walked toward the sound. It led him behind the main building to a pile of old machinery. The whimpering was clearer now. It sounded almost human, but not quite right. He pushed aside some rusted metal sheets and stopped breathing. A small figure lay curled up in the shadows. At first glance, it looked like a child, maybe 8 or 9 years old. But as Ji-won looked closer, he saw things that made his heart race. The skin was pale blue like winter sky. The arms and legs were too thin and covered in dark patches. Most shocking were the eyes that stared up at him. They were large and violet-colored like nothing he had ever seen. The creature was clearly female and clearly not human. She tried to move away from him but was too weak. Her breathing was shallow and quick. Ji-won had seen enough sick and injured people to know she was dying. For a long moment they just stared at each other. The alien girl's eyes showed fear but also desperate hope. She seemed to understand that this human might be her only chance to live. Ji-won's medical training took over. He knelt down slowly and spoke in a gentle voice. "I will not hurt you. I want to help." The girl did not understand his words, but she must have heard something safe in his tone. She stopped trying to move away. Up close, Ji-won could see how bad her condition was. Her blue skin was dry and cracked. The dark patches looked like bruises from malnutrition. Her lips were almost black. He opened his medical kit and pulled out a water bottle. "Water," he said clearly and held it where she could see. "Water for you." The girl's eyes fixed on the bottle with intense hunger. Ji-won helped her sit up very slowly. She was incredibly light, like holding a bird. He brought the water to her lips and let her drink small sips. She drank desperately, but he controlled the flow. Too much water too fast could make her sick. After she had drunk enough, Ji-won looked at what else he could do. He had energy bars in his kit along with basic medical supplies. The girl watched his every move with those strange violet eyes. When he unwrapped an energy bar and broke off a small piece, she understood immediately. "Food," Ji-won said as he gave her the piece. "Eat slowly." She ate like someone who had not seen food in weeks. Ji-won had to stop her from eating too fast. He knew that starving people needed to be fed carefully or their bodies could shut down. While she ate, Ji-won studied her more closely. She was definitely not human, but she was similar enough that his medical knowledge might help. Her breathing was getting stronger already. Whatever species she was, she responded well to earth food and water. The girl finished the small piece of food and looked at him hopefully. Ji-won gave her another tiny piece and more water. As she ate, he noticed something amazing. The dark patches on her skin seemed a little lighter already. Her healing was much faster than any human. "What are you?" Ji-won whispered to himself. The girl tilted her head at his words. Then she did something that surprised him completely. She pointed to herself and made a sound like Nuri. "Nuri," Ji-won repeated. The girl nodded eagerly and pointed to herself again. "Nuri." Then she pointed to him with a questioning look. "Ji-won," he said, pointing to himself. "My name is Ji-won. Ji-won," she repeated carefully. Her voice was soft and musical even though she was sick. They sat there for several minutes as Nuri ate small amounts of food and drank water. Ji-won could see her getting stronger with each passing moment. The blue color of her skin was becoming more vibrant. The dark patches continued to fade. As she recovered, Nuri began to communicate through hand gestures. She pointed to the sky and made flying motions with her hands. Then she pointed to the mountains and made a falling gesture. Ji-won understood she was trying to tell him she had fallen from the sky. She held up her fingers to show numbers. First, she showed 10 fingers, then 10 again, then again. 30 days maybe. She had been hiding in the mountains for about a month. The implications hit Ji-won like a physical blow. This was an alien being. She had crashed here somehow and had been surviving alone in the wilderness for weeks. She was just a child and she had been starving and afraid with no one to help her. Ji-won looked around the empty factory complex. He thought about what he should do. His military training said he should report this immediately. There were protocols for unusual discoveries. The government needed to know. But as he looked at Nuri's trusting violet eyes, he felt something else. This was not a threat or an invasion. This was a scared, hungry child who needed help. She had trusted him when she could have hidden. She was trying to communicate and learn his language. "What am I going to do with you?" Ji-won asked softly. Nuri did not understand the words, but she seemed to sense his conflict. She reached out with one thin blue hand and gently touched his arm. The gesture was unmistakably grateful and trusting. In that moment, Ji-won made his decision. Whatever else she might be, Nuri was a child who needed protection. He would help her get stronger first. Then he would figure out what to do next. The authorities could wait a few days. "Come on," he said gently. "Let me take you somewhere safe." Ji-won helped Nuri to her feet. She was unsteady but determined. Together, they walked slowly toward his training camp building. Behind them, the empty factory complex seemed to watch with silent approval. Neither of them knew that this moment would change both their lives forever, or that it would eventually change the course of human history itself. 3 days had passed since Ji-won found Nuri behind the old factory. The change in her was remarkable. Her pale blue skin now had a healthy glow and the dark patches had completely disappeared. She moved with quick energy that reminded Ji-won of a curious cat exploring everything around her. Ji-won had set up a comfortable space for her in the main training building. He brought blankets, more food, and clean clothes that were too big but worked well enough. Nuri seemed amazed by everything human. She spent long minutes just touching different textures like cotton fabric and smooth plastic. Her learning speed was incredible. In just 3 days, she had picked up over 50 Korean words. She pointed at objects and repeated their names until she got them right. Ji-won found himself becoming an accidental teacher. "Water," Nuri said clearly as she held up a bottle. "Very good," Ji-won replied with a smile. "What is this?" He held up an apple. "Apple," she answered quickly. Then she added something that sounded like her own language. "Velkori." "Velkori means apple in your language?" Nuri nodded enthusiastically. She was always eager to share words from her own tongue. Ji-won had started writing them down along with their Korean meanings. On the 4th morning, Nuri did something that changed everything. Ji-won had accidentally cut his finger while opening a food can. It was a small cut, but it was bleeding. Nuri saw what happened and immediately became worried. She came over and gently took his injured hand. Before Ji-won could stop her, she pressed her small blue fingers against the cut. He felt a strange, warm, tingling sensation. When she pulled her hand away, the cut was completely healed. Not even a scar remained. Ji-won stared at his finger in shock. "How did you do that?" Nuri seemed pleased with his amazement. She pointed to the food around them and then to herself. She made eating motions and then touched his healed finger. She was trying to explain that eating earth food gave her the power to heal. "You can heal people when you eat our food?" Ji-won asked slowly. Nuri understood enough to nod. She looked sad for a moment and pointed to herself. Then she made her skin look pale by pressing on it. The blue color faded to almost white under pressure. She was trying to show him something important. She pointed to her pale coloring and shook her head sadly. Then she pointed to an imaginary person and made her skin look darker blue. She nodded approvingly at this. "Light blue skin is bad?" Ji-won guessed. "Dark blue skin is good?" Nuri nodded vigorously. She seemed relieved that he was beginning to understand. She drew pictures in the dirt floor with a stick. The first picture showed tall figures with dark blue skin, standing over smaller figures with light blue skin. The tall ones held what looked like weapons. The second picture showed the light blue figures working while the dark blue ones watched. It looked like slavery. Ji-won felt his stomach turn as he realized what Nuri was showing him. The dark blue people make the light blue people work as slaves? Nuri nodded sadly. She pointed to herself and made the gesture for me. Then she pointed to the picture of the light blue slaves. She was telling him that she came from a slave class. Her pale coloring marked her as someone considered inferior by her own people. Ji-won felt anger rising in his chest. This child had been treated as property simply because of how she looked. Nuri continued drawing. The third picture showed what looked like a flying machine crashing into mountains. She pointed to herself and then to the crashed machine. This was how she had arrived on Earth. The fourth picture was the most disturbing. It showed the dark blue figures hurting the light blue ones. Nuri made violent gestures and shook her head with fear in her eyes. She was trying to tell him that her people were being killed. You escaped before they could hurt you. Nuri nodded but then looked very sad. She drew a fifth picture that showed a larger figure with medium blue skin. This figure was protecting smaller light blue figures. Nuri pointed to the protective figure and said a word in her language that sounded like mama. Your mother? Ji-won asked gently. Tears appeared in Nuri's violet eyes as she nodded. She touched the picture of her mother and then pointed to the sky. She was trying to say her mother was still out there somewhere. Ji-won felt his heart break for this brave little girl. She had survived a crash landing, lived alone in the mountains for weeks, and was now safe but separated from her family. He wanted to comfort her but did not know how. Then Nuri surprised him again. She reached into a fold in her clothes and pulled out a small device. It was about the size of a phone but made of some kind of crystal material. Strange symbols glowed faintly on its surface. She held it carefully and pressed one of the glowing symbols. The device made soft musical sounds. She looked at Ji-won hopefully and said, Mama, that calls your mother? Nuri nodded eagerly. She pressed the symbol again and the device sang its strange song. She held it up toward the sky as if hoping the signal would reach far into space. Ji-won watched her with growing concern. If that device really could contact her people, what would happen next? Would her mother come looking for her? Would others come too? Were they friendly like Nuri, or dangerous like the dark blue ones she had drawn? For the first time since finding her, Ji-won wondered if he had made the right choice. Nuri was innocent and good, but her drawings showed that her people included warriors who enslaved others. What if helping her brought danger to Earth? As if sensing his worry, Nuri put away the device and came over to him. She took his hand gently and looked up into his eyes. In her simple Korean, she said, Ji-won good. Ji-won helped Nuri. Nuri helped Ji-won. Her trust was complete and absolute. This alien child who had every reason to fear larger beings still believed that kindness existed. She had chosen to trust him with her life and her secrets. Yes, Ji-won said softly. We help each other. That night, as Nuri slept peacefully on her blankets, Ji-won stayed awake thinking. He had learned so much about her in just a few days. She was incredibly intelligent. She could heal injuries. And she came from a world where her people were divided by skin color into masters and slaves. Most importantly, she was trying to contact her mother. Ji-won knew that soon he would have to make bigger decisions. But for now he was content to watch over this remarkable child who had already changed his understanding of what was possible in the universe. Outside the old factory building, the crystal device sat on the windowsill, sending its patient signal into the stars. Somewhere far away, someone was listening and getting ready to answer. 7 days after Nuri first used her communication device, something happened. Ji-won woke up in the middle of the night to find her standing at the window. Her violet eyes were wide with excitement as she pointed to the sky. Mama comes, she whispered in Korean. Mama comes now. Ji-won looked out the window but saw only darkness and stars. Then he noticed something strange. One of the stars was moving. It grew larger and brighter as he watched. Soon he could see it was not a star at all, but some kind of flying machine. The ship was unlike anything Ji-won had ever seen. It was smooth and curved like a teardrop made of silver metal. It made no sound as it moved through the air. Blue lights glowed softly along its sides. The ship was beautiful, but also clearly not from Earth. Nuri ran outside with Ji-won following close behind. The ship landed gently in the open area between the factory buildings. As it touched the ground, a section of its side opened like a flower blooming. Soft blue light spilled out into the darkness. 3 figures stepped out of the ship. Ji-won felt his heart racing as he got his first look at adult members of Nuri's species. They were tall and graceful with the same basic shape as humans, but clearly different. The first to emerge was obviously female and had deep blue skin with silver markings around her face and arms. She was beautiful in an alien way that made Ji-won think of ocean depths and starlight. Her eyes were the same violet color as Nuri's, but larger and more intense. Behind her came a male who was injured. He leaned heavily on the third alien, an elderly female with gray-blue skin. The injured male had dark patches on his skin and moved like someone in great pain. Valkyra, called the blue-skinned female in a voice like music. Nuri ran toward her crying mama in both Korean and her own language. The reunion was beautiful to watch. The tall female knelt down and gathered Nuri into her arms. She spoke rapidly in their musical language while examining every inch of her daughter to make sure she was healthy. Ji-won stayed back, suddenly feeling like an intruder in this family moment. But Nuri broke away from her mother and ran back to grab his hand. She pulled him forward while speaking quickly in her own language. The tall female looked at Ji-won with those intense violet eyes. When she spoke, her voice was clear and precise in perfect Korean. "You are the human who helped my daughter." Ji-won was shocked to hear her speak his language so well. "You know Korean? My ship has been listening to your broadcast while following Valkyra's signal. I learned your language during the journey." She placed one hand over her heart in what seemed to be a formal greeting. "I am Velthara, mother of Valkyra, whom you call Nuri. I am Park Ji-won. Your daughter is safe. I have been taking care of her." Velthara's eyes filled with what looked like tears. "You saved her life. My daughter tells me you gave her food and water when she was dying. You protected her when you could have turned her over to your authorities. She was just a hungry child. Anyone would have helped her." "No," Velthara said firmly. "Most beings would have seen her pale skin and left her to die. Even many of my own people would have done so. You saw past her coloring to her need. This is rare." Ji-won looked at the injured male who was now sitting on the ground breathing heavily. "Your friend needs help. This is Corvin, my mate, and this is Selena, my mother." Velthara gestured to the elderly female. "We escaped our homeworld together, but Corvin was hurt during our flight. We have been traveling for many days searching for Valkyra. I can help treat his injuries. I was a military medic." Velthara looked surprised. "You would help us? Even though we are strangers to your world?" Nuri healed a cut on my hand. "If I can help your people in return, I will." Ji-won examined Corvin's injuries while Velthara explained their situation. The story she told was worse than anything Nuri's drawings had shown. Their homeworld had been conquered by a group called the Domari who believed that only dark blue Vallani deserved to live. "They call us the Pure Ones," Velthara explained. "But they consider light-skinned Vallani like Valkyra to be genetic mistakes that must be eliminated. They have been systematically killing all pale Vallani for the past year." "That's horrible," Ji-won said as he cleaned Corvin's wounds. "How did you escape?" "I stole a ship when I learned they were coming for Valkyra. We fled but were discovered. Other ships chased us and damaged our vessel. Valkyra's escape pod was launched when our ship was hit. We thought she was lost." Selena spoke for the first time in heavily accented Korean. "Child was brave. Pod flew far from battle. We searched many worlds. We have been to 12 different planets looking for her," Velthara continued. "Some worlds would not let us land. Others tried to capture us to trade with the Domari. We were losing hope when we finally detected her signal." As Ji-won worked on Corvin's injuries, he learned more about their desperate situation. The Vallani refugees had nowhere to go. Every colony world they had tried either feared the Domari or actively supported them. They were alone in a hostile galaxy with only their stolen ship. "What will you do now?" Ji-won asked. Velthara looked at her daughter who was showing Selena some of the Korean words she had learned. "I do not know. We cannot return home. We cannot find sanctuary on any world we have tried. Perhaps we will just keep traveling until our ship fails or the Domari find us." "There might be another option," Ji-won said carefully. "What do you mean?" Ji-won took a deep breath. What he was about to suggest could change everything. "You could stay here. On Earth." Velthara stared at him in shock. "Your people would allow this? They would shelter refugees from another world? I don't know what my government would decide. But I know what the right thing to do is. Nuri is just a child. You are a family trying to survive. If there's a way to help you, we should try." Corvin spoke weakly in their language. Velthara translated. "He asks why you would risk helping strangers." Ji-won looked at Nuri, who was carefully teaching Selena how to say hello in Korean. The old alien woman was trying hard to repeat the sounds while Nuri encouraged her with patient smiles. "Because that's what humans do," Ji-won said simply. "We help people who need help." Velthara studied his face for a long moment. "Your species is very young compared to ours. We have been traveling among the stars for thousands of your years. In all that time, I have rarely met beings who would risk themselves for strangers. Then maybe you've been meeting the wrong beings." Something in Ji-won's tone made Velthara smile for the first time since landing. It was a beautiful expression that reminded him strongly of Nuri's trusting grin. "Perhaps we have," she said. "Will you help us speak to your leaders?" Ji-won nodded, knowing that his quiet life was about to become very complicated. But looking at this refugee family who had traveled across the galaxy to find their lost child, he knew he had no choice. "Yes," he said, "I'll help you." The next morning, Ji-won made the most difficult phone call of his life. He contacted his former commanding officer, Colonel Kim Di-ho, who now worked in military intelligence. The conversation did not go as planned. "You found what?" Kim's voice was sharp through the phone. "Alien refugees, sir. A family with a child. They need help. Ji-won, this better not be some kind of joke. If you're having problems, we can get you counseling. I'm completely serious, Colonel. I can prove it. Can you come to my location? Bring whoever you need to bring, but please come." There was a long silence. Kim had known Ji-won for 8 years and had never known him to lie or exaggerate. "Give me your exact coordinates. And Ji-won, if this is real, don't contact anyone else. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." 3 hours later, 2 military vehicles arrived at the abandoned factory. Colonel Kim stepped out with 4 other soldiers. They were all armed and looked very nervous. Kim had brought a translator, a scientist, and a medical officer. Ji-won met them at the entrance to the main building. "Thank you for coming, Colonel. Before we go inside, I need you to know that these beings are peaceful. They're refugees fleeing genocide. The child has been staying with me for over a week." "Show us," Kim said simply. Ji-won led them inside where the Villani family was waiting. He had explained to Velthara that humans would need proof before they could help. She had agreed to demonstrate their technology and abilities. The soldiers stopped moving when they saw the 4 aliens. Even though Ji-won had tried to prepare them, nothing could really ready someone for meeting beings from another world. Velthara stepped forward and spoke in perfect Korean. "Greetings, Colonel Kim Dae-ho. I am Velthara of the Villani people. We come seeking sanctuary from those who would destroy us." Kim's jaw dropped. "How do you know my name and rank?" "Your friend Ji-won told us about you. My people have advanced hearing. We listened to your conversation this morning and learned more of your language." The scientist, Dr. Han Min-jae, pulled out various instruments and began taking readings. "Colonel, I'm detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our technology. Whatever these beings are, they're definitely not human." To prove their peaceful intentions, Velthara demonstrated their healing abilities. She asked the medical officer, Captain Lee Sujin, to make a small cut on her own hand. When Sujin hesitated, Velthara gently took a knife and made a shallow cut on her own arm. The cut healed completely within seconds, leaving perfect blue skin. The medical team stared in amazement. "This is what proper nutrition allows my people to do," Velthara explained. "We can heal ourselves and others when we have eaten sufficient protein. Your earth foods work very well for us." Nuri stepped forward shyly and spoke to Colonel Kim in Korean. "Hello, Colonel Kim. Ji-won teaches me good Korean words. I like earth food very much." The hardened military officer looked down at the small alien girl with her innocent violet eyes and serious expression. Something in his face softened. "Hello, Nuri. You speak Korean very well." "Thank you. Ji-won is a good teacher. Ji-won saves my life." Kim looked at Ji-won with new understanding. "She's just a child." "Yes, sir. That's why I couldn't turn her away." Dr. Han was examining the Villani ship with growing excitement. "Colonel, their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Look at these energy readings. If we could study their system, that's not why we're here, Doctor," Kim said firmly. He turned back to Velthara. "Tell me about this threat you're fleeing from." Velthara explained about the Domari conquest and the genocide against light-skinned Villani. She showed them star charts on her ship's systems, pointing out worlds that had fallen and refugee groups that had been captured or killed. "How long before they might come looking for you?" Kim asked, unknown. "They may not follow us to this region of space immediately, but eventually they will come. The Domari believe that any world that harbors us must be punished." The translator, Major Park Juyeon, had been recording everything. "Colonel, we need to report this to higher command immediately." Kim nodded grimly. "Doctor, how long would you need to evaluate their technology?" "Days, maybe weeks for a basic assessment. But sir, if what they're showing us is real, this could revolutionize our science. And if these Domari decide to come here," Dr. Han looked uncomfortable. "Based on what I'm seeing, we would not be able to defend ourselves with current technology." That evening, Kim contacted the Defense Ministry. Within hours, a secret meeting was called involving the highest levels of government. Jiwon found himself sitting in a conference room in Seoul facing ministers and generals. Minister Lee Hee-jin ran the meeting. She was a small woman with steel in her voice who had climbed to the top of Korea's defense establishment through pure competence. Mr. Park, you realize the magnitude of what you're asking? You want us to grant asylum to alien refugees who are being hunted by what sounds like a galactic empire. Yes, Minister, that's exactly what I'm asking. And you believe this is the right thing to do despite the potential consequences? Jiwon thought about Nuri's trusting smile and Velthara's desperate hope. Minister, when I was a medic, I took an oath to help people who were hurt or sick. I didn't ask what country they came from or what their politics were. I just helped them because they needed help. This is slightly different from battlefield medicine, Mr. Park. Is it really? We have refugees who are hurt and scared and asking for help. They've offered to share their knowledge with us in return. They're not asking us to fight their war for them. They just want a safe place to live. General Nam Hyoen spoke up. The potential military applications of their technology could give us significant advantages. If we're going to face this Domari threat anyway, we might as well be prepared. Or we could avoid the threat entirely by turning them over, suggested another official. The room fell silent. Jiwon felt his anger rising. You want to hand over a family with a child to people who plan to kill them? Is that what Korea stands for now? Minister Lee held up her hand. Mr. Park, I understand your feelings, but I have to consider the safety of 50 million Korean citizens, and I'm asking you to consider the safety of 4 innocent beings who have no one else to turn to. Velthara had been silent during most of the meeting, but now she spoke. Minister Lee, may I say something? Please. My people have been traveling among the stars for 3,000 of your years. We have met hundreds of different species. Most are concerned only with their own survival and advancement. Very few would risk themselves for strangers. She paused and looked around the room. Your friend Ji-won saved my daughter's life when he could have ignored her. He protected her when he could have turned her over to authorities. He brought us to you when he could have hidden from this responsibility. This speaks to something special about your species. What are you saying? I am saying that in 3,000 years of galactic history, we have rarely encountered beings with your capacity for compassion toward strangers. If you choose to help us, you will be proving something important about what humans can become. Minister Lee studied Velthara's face. And if we choose not to help, then you will be like most other species we have met, concerned only with yourselves. There is no shame in this. It is the common way. The minister looked at Jiwon. What do you think makes your answer different? Jiwon thought carefully before responding. Because we have a choice. We can be afraid and turn away from people who need help. Or we can be brave and do what's right even when it's dangerous. The choice we make here will decide what kind of people we really are. Minister Lee was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. The refugee family can stay while we make our decision. But Mr. Park, if we do this, there will be no going back. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Yes, Minister. I am. Then may God help us all. 2 weeks after the government meeting, Velthara's fears came true. 3 massive ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. They were dark and angular, built like weapons rather than exploration vessels. The Domari had found them. The lead ship broadcast a message in multiple Earth languages. The translation was clear and threatening. We are the Domari Imperial Fleet. You harbor criminals who have stolen our property and fled justice. Return the Villani refugees immediately, or face the consequences of your interference. In the secure facility where the Villani family was now staying, Velthara watched the broadcast with growing fear. They found us faster than I expected. Commander Thekmore is leading this fleet. He is known for his cruelty. Jiwon stood beside her as they watched the news coverage. Every television channel was showing the alien ships. People around the world were panicking as they realized humanity was no longer alone in the universe. What will your government do? Velthara asked quietly. I don't know, but I know what they should do. Colonel Kim entered the room with Minister Lee and several other officials. Their faces were grim. The minister spoke first. The Domari commander wants to meet with our representatives. He's demanding we turn you over within 24 hours. And if we refuse? Jiwon asked. He's demonstrated their weapons by destroying a small asteroid. The energy output was beyond anything we can produce. If they want to destroy us, they probably can. Velthara closed her eyes in despair. I should go to them. Perhaps if I surrender myself, they will leave your world alone. No, Nuri said firmly in Korean. She had been quiet until now, but her voice was strong. Mama not go to bad people. We stay together. Jiwon knelt down beside the young alien girl. Nuri, this is very dangerous for my people. Maybe your mother is right. Jiwon, Nuri said seriously. You teach me humans help people who need help. Humans not give up when things are hard. Humans are brave. Her simple words hit the room like a physical blow. Here was an alien child lecturing human adults about courage and principles. Minister Lee stared at Nuri for a long moment. Out of the mouths of babes, she said softly. Then her voice became steel. Colonel Kim, prepare for the meeting with this Domari commander. We're going to make our position clear. The meeting took place on a neutral space station that the Domari projected between Earth and Moon, Renor. Kim led a small delegation including Jiwon and Dr. Han. They traveled in a shuttle, provided by the Domari commander. Thekmor was everything Velthara had warned them about. He was tall even for a Domari, with dark red skin and cold yellow eyes. His uniform was covered in what looked like military decorations. When he spoke, his voice was full of contempt. So these are the primitives who think they can interfere in Domari justice, he said in accented English. You have one chance to avoid destruction. Give us the Volani criminals and we will pretend this incident never happened. Colonel Kim stood straight and spoke clearly. The beings you call criminals are refugees seeking asylum. We have granted them sanctuary under human law. Thekmor laughed, a harsh sound without humor. Human law? You barbarians have been flying in space for barely 50 of your years. Your law means nothing to civilized species. It means something to us, Jiwon said. The Domari commander turned his yellow gaze on Jiwon. You must be the one who found the pale skin first. Do you understand what you have done? The Volani you protect are genetic refuse. They contaminate any population they join. We are doing the galaxy a service by eliminating them. They're people. They have a right to live, rights? Thekmor's voice rose. Rights are earned through strength and purity. These pale skins are weak and flawed. They deserve nothing but death. Dr. Han stepped forward. Commander, we've studied the Volani refugees. Their genetic diversity is actually beneficial. Your eugenic theories have no scientific basis. Science? Thekmor spat. You speak of science? Your people have not even learned to travel faster than light. What could you possibly understand about genetic purity? Colonel Kim had heard enough. Commander, our answer is no. The refugees stay under our protection. Then you have chosen extinction. Thekmor's expression became deadly calm. I will demonstrate what happens to worlds that harbor genetic contaminants. The view screen showed one of the smaller Domari ships moving toward Earth. Its weapons began charging with visible energy buildup. Wait, Dr. Han said quickly. Before you make a mistake you might regret, there's something you should know about humans. What could primitives like you possibly tell me? That we're not as primitive as you think. Dr. Han activated a device he had brought. The screen now showed images from around Earth. The Domari had expected to see a world in panic and chaos. Instead, they saw something else entirely. In every major city, humans were gathering in massive crowds. They held signs supporting the Volani refugees. Military forces from dozens of countries were coordinating their defenses. Scientists were working around the clock to adapt Volani technology for Earth's protection. Your arrival was broadcast to our entire world, Dr. Han explained. Every human being now knows that you want to commit genocide against a family that includes a child. Our response has been unanimous. Thekmor stared at the images with growing disbelief. They would risk death for aliens they've never met. That's what humans do, Jiwon said simply. We protect people who can't protect themselves, even at the cost of your own lives. Especially then. The Domari commander studied the human delegation with something like confusion. This makes no sense. There is no benefit to your species in protecting genetic refuse. Why would you risk everything for strangers? Colonel Kim answered with quiet pride. Because it's the right thing to do. On the view screen, more images appeared. Human children were drawing pictures of Nuri and her family. Religious leaders from every faith were calling for protection of the refugees. Even world leaders who usually disagreed about everything were united in their support. Your threats have had an unexpected result, Commander, Dr. Han continued. You've united our entire species. Every human being on Earth now knows that you believe some people deserve to die simply because of how they look. We've decided we disagree. Thekmore's yellow eyes narrowed dangerously. Then you will all die for your foolish principles. Maybe, Colonel Kim admitted. But we'll die as free beings making our own choices. That's better than living as slaves to your twisted ideas about genetic purity. The Damari commander cut the communication link abruptly. Through the view screen, the humans could see the alien ships beginning to move toward Earth. As their shuttle returned to Earth, Ji-won thought about Nuri's words. Humans help people who need help. Humans don't give up when things are hard. Humans are brave. He hoped she was right. They were about to find out just how brave humans could be. Back on Earth, every military force was preparing for the fight of humanity's life. But they weren't preparing alone. Velthara and her family were sharing everything they knew about Damari weaknesses and technology. The battle for Earth was about to begin. But for the first time since the ships arrived, Ji-won felt hope. Humanity had made its choice. Now they would live or die by it together. The Battle of Luna began at dawn. The Damari ships moved past Earth's moon, expecting an easy victory over primitive humans. What they found instead changed the course of galactic history. Human pilots flying fighters equipped with hybrid human-Volani technology met them in space. The ships looked human on the outside but used Volani energy systems and healing technology. More importantly, they were flown by humans who had nothing to lose and everything to fight for. Captain Oh Min-soo led the first squadron. As his fighter approached the massive Damari vessels, he thought about the alien child he had seen on television. Nuri had trusted humans to protect her. Now it was time to prove that trust was not misplaced. All fighters, remember what we're fighting for, he broadcast to his squadron. There's a little girl down there who believes humans are brave. Let's not disappoint her. The Damari had superior weapons and shields, but they had never fought an enemy like humans before. Their tactics were rigid and predictable, based on thousands of years of fighting other civilized species who followed established rules of warfare. Humans didn't follow their rules. Captain O's squadron split into impossible formations, using maneuvers that should have killed the pilots but somehow worked. They attacked from directions the Damari didn't expect, using strategies that made no tactical sense but achieved devastating results. These primitives fight like madmen, Commander Thekmore snarled as he watched his carefully planned formation break apart under the chaotic human assault. But the real turning point came when Captain O tried something that no civilized species had ever attempted. He broadcast images directly to the Damari ships showing humans and Volani working together. The images showed Nuri teaching human children to speak Volani, while human doctors learned Volani healing techniques. They showed Velthara working with human scientists while her mate Corvin shared tactical knowledge with human military officers. Most shocking of all, they showed humans and Volani eating together, working together, and treating each other as equals despite their completely different appearances. The effect on the Damari crews was immediate and devastating. Many Damari believed that even touching a pale-skinned Volani would contaminate them genetically. Seeing humans deliberately mixing with the refugees violated everything. They thought they knew about proper species behavior. Genetic contamination, screamed one Damari ship captain, as he watched a human child hug Nuri in the broadcast. They're voluntarily contaminating themselves. Several Damari ships actually retreated, rather than risk getting closer to what they saw as a genetically polluted world. Their obsession with racial purity had become a crippling weakness when faced with humans who simply didn't care about such things. Commander Thekmore tried to rally his forces, but the damage was done. His crews were terrified of approaching a world where beings mixed freely across species lines. Some refused to fire their weapons for fear of spreading the contamination to other worlds. The human fighters pressed their advantage. They had taken heavy losses, but they kept fighting with a determination that amazed their enemies. Every time a human ship was destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. On Earth, people watched the battle on television while working frantically to support their defenders. Children drew pictures of human and Volani friendship to be broadcast to the Damari ships. Scientists shared every piece of knowledge they could adapt from Volani technology. In the secure facility, Nuri watched the broadcasts with tears in her violet eyes. "Humans are fighting for us," she said in perfect Korean. They are dying to protect my family. Belthara put her arm around her daughter. Yes, little one. We chose the right species to trust. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it finally ended, 2 Damari ships had been destroyed and the third was retreating. Earth had lost many fighters and pilots, but humanity had won its first interstellar war. More importantly, they had proven something to the galaxy. The news of the battle spread quickly among the spacefaring civilizations. Humanity was now known as the species that would risk everything to protect refugees, even alien refugees they had just met. 3 months later, Jiwon stood in his new office in Seoul. The sign on his door read Director of Interspecies Relations in both Korean and Valani script. Through his window, he could see the construction site where Earth's first integrated human-alien research facility was being built. Nuri entered his office carrying a stack of papers. She was now fluent in Korean and was studying human medicine while teaching Valani healing techniques to human doctors. She had also become the unofficial ambassador between the two species. Jiwon, we have 3 more refugee ships requesting permission to land, she reported in perfect Korean. 2 are Valani survivors from other worlds. 1 is a different species called the Cathara, who heard about Earth's sanctuary policy. What do you think we should tell them? Nori smiled, the same trusting expression she had given him when he first found her behind the factory. We should tell them what you told my mother. We help people who need help. Through the window, they could see human and Valani children playing together in the city parks below. Velthara walked by leading a group of human scientists to examine new Valani technology. Her mate Corvin was fully healed and now worked with human military planners to prepare for future threats. The old factory where Jiwon had first found Nuri had been turned into a memorial. A simple plaque in Korean and Valani script marked the spot where the alliance between species had begun. It read, "Here a human chose compassion over fear and changed the galaxy forever." Other species throughout the galaxy were taking notice of Earth. Some came seeking the humans' protection. Others came to study this strange species that valued kindness over genetic purity. A few came looking for trouble and found that humanity's reputation for protecting the innocent was well-deserved. But for Jiwon, the most important change was much simpler. Nuri was safe, her family was together, and Earth had become exactly what Velthara had said it could be. A place where any being could find refuge, regardless of their past or their biology. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans didn't care about genetic purity or species superiority. They cared about doing the right thing. And when it came to protecting innocent people, humans would fight impossible odds and take incredible risks. As Nuri worked at her desk translating documents between human and alien languages, Jiwon reflected on how much had changed since that misty morning when he found a dying alien child behind an abandoned factory. His quiet life was gone forever, but he wouldn't trade it for anything. He had helped save one small alien girl. In return, she had helped humanity find its place among the stars as protectors of the innocent and champions of the helpless. It was, Jiwon thought, a pretty good trade. Outside his window, the first mixed human-alien families were walking through the streets of Seoul, proving every day that differences in appearance meant nothing compared to similarities in heart. Earth had become the galaxy's sanctuary world, and humanity had become known throughout space for one simple truth. When people needed help, humans helped them. No matter who they were or where they came from, that was what it meant to be human.